Thank you so much, Mr. Duncan. And thanks to our witnesses for being here today. This has been a really interesting panel discussion. I have been here and heard all of your testimony and really appreciate your insights and the issues you've raised today. And several issues have been have come up today that I definitely want to hear more about. But in the interest of time, I want to follow up on some of the questions Mr. Fletcher was just asking before the break, specifically to you, Dr. Tripathi. I think we all see the possibilities and some of the really exciting possibilities when it comes to AI, but we also see some of the potential harms. And so one of the things, y'all were just talking a little bit about the need for privacy law and HIPAA protection, and I was just reading an article that touches on this issue that I want to ask you more about, because one of the things that you discussed in your testimony, you talked about the risks of some of the algorithms in AI and some of the information that can be inaccurate or unreliable because of the sources that it's drawing from. And it can also be unreliable because of differences in patient populations. So one of the things that I was reading about is some misinformation relating to AI and the potential to greatly expand some misinformation or disinformation. And there was an article that recently researchers posed 39 medical-related questions to the free AI chatbot, ChatGPT, and they found that it only provided accurate answers to about 10 of those 39 questions, and some of the responses could actually put the patients at risk. And certainly we all know that many of us now, when we start to feel sick or have symptoms, are Googling, Googling our symptoms and trying to figure out what's going on. And I think that the risk of someone going to ChatGPT to try to get this information is right there in front of us. And so I would just love to get your perspective about what the guardrails are that we should be talking about, that we should be instituting here, whether as a policy matter and otherwise, to protect people from AI-generated disinformation. Specifically when it comes to health, I think it's a generally applicable question as well.
Yes, thank you for the question. So certainly, I mean, this has been an issue for a while. Dr. Google is, right, and we were all concerned about that and continue to be concerned about that. And so this is just the next generation of that for sure. And I think we've seen that that these large language models have an unnerving capability to either make mistakes or make things up. Hallucinations or confabulations, as they call them. So certainly, I think there's a pronged approach here. One is certainly for patients. I think it's about education, and developing trust on the part of providers of the AI tools that the providers can use, and that puts them in a better position to have a better relationship with the patient and discuss with them how the AI tools used appropriately, used within the setting where there's appropriate direct supervision in the care setting, that can help the patient with better information and to be able to get the best advantage of AI, and also allow them to offer the cautions about using AI on its own.
Thanks. I think that brings up a topic that has come up in our subcommittee hearings as well, which is just the general concept of AI literacy and envisioning a scenario where you have a provider and a patient talking about the reliability of information is important, but obviously there are a lot of people who don't have access to that information, who don't have that level of care, and then more broadly, things that we should be thinking about or doing to ensure that there are indicia of reliability sort of built in for the users. I think a lot of users are currently interacting with systems that rely on AI without knowledge of that. And I know that in our subcommittee hearings, we raised this issue. And so I think any ideas that any of you all have to suggest, I've only got a minute left, this went very quickly, but with the minute I've left or after time, if you can talk about things that you think we can be doing or should be doing to ensure that consumers and people who are using products that contain AI know when they're interacting with AI-generated content or AI-based systems. I don't know if Mr. Khan, you want to address that.
Thank you, Congresswoman. So, I think there's a number of things that we need to be doing in this space. One is kind of better watermarking technology and guidelines around that, which I know we've discussed a little bit earlier in the hearing, but the idea of kind of having a shared understanding of what techniques we are using and having a process to watermark when content is AI generated and when it is not, I think that's kind of a critical element to govern misinformation. So that's one element of the challenge.
Great, thank you so much. And I only have a few seconds left, so I'm going to submit a couple more questions for you all for the record, but I really do want to thank you all. And Ms. Fu, I was very interested in your testimony on permitting, so would love to hear more about that as we go. Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for the time, and I will yield back.